podcast. Today I'm going to show you how I make my feeders for my poultry. Here you can see the geese, but works well for pretty much any bird. I make them pretty simply and easily from a wheelie bin and some PVC pipe. And so I thought I would go through how I tend to make mine. Alright, so I'll go through the tools we need to, and the consumables that we need to make this feeder bin. So obviously we need the feeder bin itself. This is just one that I got from, a reject shop, or one of those cheap $2 stores or whatever. Nice cheap one, 60 litre, seems to be a pretty good size. Holds about a bag and a half, or maybe even 2 bags actually, of chook food. So we're also going to need obviously the PVC fittings. This is a 90mm fitting, 45 degree, with a male-female sort of end, and then one of these push-in end caps. So it goes in there like that, sort of thing. We're going to need some hole saws. So I like the Sutton ones, and this is the 89mm one. 90 would probably be better, but I'm going to make it 89. And then a 70mm. See the for it. A deburr tool. Probably don't need this if you don't have it. You can just use, say, sandpaper or something like that. It should be fine. Some plumber's glue. Doesn't really matter if you don't have that. You can use another glue, or even nothing if you didn't really have it, but it will come off eventually. Drill, obviously, turn the hole saws, and tape's probably a good idea, but it's, we're not building a rocket here. It's pretty basic. So, Alright, so the general idea of what we're doing here is this 45-degree elbow piece is going to be mounted down in here in the bin, and it's sort of hard to see, but effectively what's going to happen is, show it this way, it's going to be pretty much like that, except this will be facing down. And so what happens is, as the grain comes in from the top, then it will fill under into here, and it won't spill out or anything like that, but it'll fall down and then come in here, and then as the chickens peck it, it will sort of clear that space, and then the grain from on top will come down and it'll fill that space. And so the advantage of that obviously is it's auto feeding, but also it means that you're always using your old grain first, or your old chook pellets, whatever you want to do. It's because they feed from the bottom and you refill from the top. So effectively what we're going to do is we're going to drill a hole in there, and then we're going to put this guy on the inside, so it'll be sitting like that sort of thing. And the reason we need these end caps here is that it works out pretty well if you've got these female fittings and the male push-in end cap. You can actually push it in there like that, and this wall, it's only quite thin, so you can actually end up, you don't have to push it all the way in. It's still sort of in there a little bit, and you'll sort of grab it from the outside here. Now, obviously, chooks can't get their head in there, so hence the reason we have this. Create that hole out there. We'll pop him through, and then glue it with this guy here. So, just go ahead and do that now. Alright, so in putting it effectively, we only want to have this bottom part of the feeder only maybe, 5-6 millimeters off the bottom of the actual bin, because all of the stuff's going to come in from here, so it doesn't really matter. This can almost be on the bottom. So just sort of, again, we're not building a rocket here, so sort of a calibrated eyeball is generally good enough. Make sure when you factor it in, don't go to the bottom here because it's got a lip, so account for that. Really recommend getting good hole saws if you don't have one already. I like the Sutton, but there's Diablo, there's a whole bunch. Just, they're expensive for sure, but it makes a huge difference getting them. So yeah, try and get one of these good ones. Also, don't just tighten these all the way, otherwise you'll find them impossible to get off. They have these springs, these little dogs, I suppose, I don't know what they are. And much as it seems loose, that's going to make it so you can actually get it off afterwards. So obviously we've got a heap of stuff here. Part of the bummer of an 89mm is that it doesn't seem to quite fit here. Now, you can sort of go in with a knife, or you can go in with a die grinder, or just sandpaper, or whatever. But I find these metal deburring tools are actually quite good. Not only do they deal with the actual burr and swarf and everything like that, but you can actually take off the material pretty easily. Fits. Happy days. Obviously, no good, so I'm going to put a hole in this one. Usually I put it in the vise, but the camera is in the vise, so fingers crossed this works. So swap out the 70mm drill bit. Hole saw rather. Again, calibrated eyeball, doesn't really matter. Happy days. Again, deburring tool. You could use sandpaper or whatever. Happy days. Just clean that up a bit. So, I don't know if you can see, I drilled it slightly off center. That's fine, because we take the lowest part, put it down there. Now, again, this allows us to put this piece in, but it also acts as a bit of a weather shield, having like a little bit of a lip here. So I'll just chuck this in and then I'll show you. So you can see here, that's where our chook's head will go in, and then just ends up, oh, sorry, a bit awkward. You can see it sort of in there, so the grain will fill from the top. So now I'm just going to put some glue on, just to keep it in place. It doesn't need to be plumber's glue. You could just use super glue or contact adhesive. Really, obviously plumber's glue is the best for PVC, but you can just leave it as it is. Like I said, you don't need to actually glue it. It's just eventually it will fall apart as it, chooks mess with it and you drop stuff in. So it's probably worth doing it correctly. And yeah, that's it. Quick, easy, effective. Happy days.